I'm getting messages that the password was changed. Did you change the password? Nobody seems to be, nobody's able to join. I'm on right now and nobody's joining. So people are saying the password isn't correct. Did you change the password? Yes. Last week's, yes. Could you double check it right now and see what's going on? Because nobody's in, and I'm getting text messages from all these people now. Oh, fuck. Yeah, the only one on my account. You could join. Hold on, I'll send you the link. Hold on. Hold on. Shit. I know. Everybody's fucking texting me. I know. Fuck. Last week, everything was it was perfect. What the fuck? What's the no? The password was live. That's the wrong password. The password should be live 7 p.m. Did you email the wrong password? Live 7 p.m. Okay, hold on. Fuck. Did you resend out the email? Do all the emails have the wrong password that just went out today? What? 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 Yeah. What about what about the members? You said the members. Sent out the members, right? What do you mean you didn't send to the members? I told you. Holy fuck! Nobody's gonna fucking be on this. You didn't send to any members? Yeah, but what about the members? Members get this thing for free. We should be sending out that group email again. You didn't send that out? I said it on the text message to you, Sergio. When you asked me to clarify what we were doing, I said yes, and then I said and send out later on to the members, and I said exactly what to do. Sergio, there's nobody on this fucking call right now. Sergio, you checked the text message I did. Yeah. Yes. Wait, password. Fucking I don't know password. Okay. So everybody else has seen. All right. So you what link?
Where's that one coming from?
Okay, all right. So some people are getting on. Sorry, I'm gonna be okay, I think. But nobody else. Can you send out the email to the members? Because the members are not going to get on this email if they didn't get this link today.
Okay, you and I have to have a call afterwards. Just go enjoy your call and send out the email. But there's, I was new stepping into support, setting up emails.
You never showed me how to do it. I would have done it if somebody would fucking show me how to fucking do it, Sergio. Nobody's fucking showed me.
Can't give me a phone call for a minute of, and then because we're not sending out emails that I wasn't instructed to send out. People message and send, you didn't ask me to do it.
Okay, all right. I got to get this go. All right, okay. Just send out an email so I get more. So just send out an email so I can get these people going in here.
Very good.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Crew Call Live. A little late today, but I got on, and I'm happy to say that this week I'm going to be joined by a buddy of mine who does something. So mute. Eric Abram. Eric is an EVS op for Fox. Yes, been doing this for many, many years, and he's been gracious enough to join me tonight and talk a little about his career, how he started, how he got into doing this in sports. Actually, I don't know, Eric, how you got your start into this.
Yeah, I don't really know either. No, no, I got out of college, went to college for TV, radio, film stuff, and I don't know, I got a little gig working Cablevision in New York. Learned everything, needed to learn, and I don't know, we had a TV truck, which was cool. So we would do a lot of high school sports and stuff like that. And then I don't know, meet some people, get some names, and just one thing leads to another.
So you
get asked to do something, and
so you got
look where I am.
so
Yeah.
you really you thought about you were in college. What did you study in college? Where'd you go to school?
TV,
So you
TV,
studied
radio,
communications?
film. Yeah, I went to.
Oh, so you knew early. So you knew early on this is what you kind of wanted to do. See, my degree was
Yeah.
in marketing and management. I had no idea.
No,
but-
well, honestly, I wanted to do like film, and then I didn't really have the money to spend on college at the time, and then to go to like Manhattan or had the opportunity to go to a couple of different schools, Stony Brook, stuff like that, but they didn't have. It would take like years to be hands-on with any kind of equipment. So Suffolk ended up being where you walked in and you learned hands-on like instantly. So, I still thought I wanted to do film stuff, and then, just kind of fell into the TV world. I wanted to be an editor.
Do you remember? I'm sorry. Do you remember your first opportunity to actually? So, what was your big break to actually get on a show and do something?
The first professional game I worked on, like a pro, was the New Jersey Nets in like '04, and they still had tape machines, so they had uh, Jeff Rubin used to do Mario. No, Jeff Rubin.
Yeah, we all know Jeff.
So, but Jeff used to do the tape machines on it, and then somebody wasn't there, so I filled in, and he moved over, and I did the tape machines. So I'm one of the last of like the dying breed of knowing how to do tape, like tape.
So that it was what was the beta cams back then? What was it?
Yeah, for me it was beta. Like I learned on beta when I worked at Cablevision, and then beta. What was it? Beta.
SP
the digital one with like the yellow tape.
Yeah,
what
the DigiBeta. Yeah, DigiBetas.
Yeah, it wasn't. There was another one, SX or something.
Yeah. I remember those different colors.
And then there was DigiBeta. Yeah, so we had DigiBeta on the truck.
No. So then obviously you made the change, the technology in our career. We have seen a lot of technology changes, like it's happening now.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah.
so you saw a change from the. So what did you take a class? Because everything went into that.
No,
All of a sudden, everything was on servers. There was no more tape. The
yeah,
world was in the server world, and you had to operate with an
no,
EVS, or was Dreamcatcher around? It was, I think
no,
EVS was the only guy
no.
in
We're
town at the
talking,
time.
Hardy. We're talking like 2004. So EVS was still kind of new. It was only probably like 6 years old or something like that, you know. But it was all right now. At that time, it was the whole truck was EVS, the exception of like two tape machines, one to record like program on, and one to play back to kind of save money, I guess. But the first time I did EVS, I just did it on a Yankee game. I never did it before, but I understood, you know, I understood like how to do the job. So being that I knew how to do replay off a tape, it didn't really, I just had to learn how to use the remote, you know, and then you just
So,
pick
did you
up
take
on
a
it. I never
class?
took a class. One time I went, a friend of mine was thinking about taking it. I was like, well, I'll go. I went, I didn't learn anything that I didn't already know, but I learned, I'm from New York. So everybody I worked with, I learned from them, nobody
So,
better to learn from.
so was it at that time? Was it a bunch of guys trying to figure this out together and sharing
No,
knowledge?
no, they were, no, no. Like I came in, and the New York guys, they took me in. They all liked me. I'm lucky. You know what I mean? And so, they just showed me what I needed to know to get through the job. And then as I was there, I would just learn more and ask questions. And, you know, like I said, one thing leads to another. And I've learned how to do everything you need to do. Like there was nothing at that class in New Jersey that they teach at EVS that I didn't already learn from guys operating the machine. You know,
Now, the big
and,
thing was
and
so,
hands-on is way better. Going to the
well,
class without any knowledge of television stuff, taking the classes, you know, you need to learn. People, I don't want to say it like this, but like you can't just take the class. The next thing you know, you're going to be working at TV. You need to learn the ins and outs. What like I always like to say, industry jargon. You need to know like what
yeah.
things mean. I've worked with guys that were doing this for a long time and they didn't know what going to their machine clean meant. He said X clean. I don't know what he's talking about. I'm like, really? We're talking about people in another market. Think they're great.
So,
You know,
so what?
it's
So, all right.
just
So, I'm a camera guy. What X clean? I would think X clean would
clean,
mean your
no
output
graph.
without no graphic. You're right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
no lower
So,
third. Yeah.
because wait, so as an EVS op, you can take in a feed and take in an ME on top of that feed. You can mix feeds into your sources.
Well, yeah. Well, you have multiple inputs. I just mean
Oh,
like,
so you'll just route you'll route if there's a
yeah.
graphic on top
Well,
of a thing in an ME, you can route that to your
yeah. You
machine and
can.
take
I
it in.
can route whatever source is coming from the truck, pretty much.
All right.
Any
So you
EVS, any camera, any graphics, everything is in the router, and the router is where we get everything. Like tape, we have our own router. So we come up with what's going in there, what audio sources go with what video sources. There's a lot to it.
So you started with EVS doing a lot of that stuff. Now,
Just
recently,
our own.
EVS did not change their controller for 15 years or
Yeah.
so long, right? It was for a
Probably
long
even
time.
longer. Yeah.
Right. So you learned that controller. A lot of
Yeah.
guys knew that controller in and out by the feel, like
Yeah.
braille, right? And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden they revamped it a few years ago with the
Yeah.
new LSM Via controller,
Yeah.
which has a lot of great advancements to it. But as an operator, what was that like when the change happened? Because you had to relearn stuff.
Well, your muscle memory is different. It's the same as anything. Like if you typed a lot and you know the keyboard without looking down at it, I can't do that, but that's how the EVS remote was. And then now the new one's like that though. I was lucky. We're one of the forget which I don't know if it was a Super Bowl, forget what it was, and they brought that remote, and it was like the first time we saw it, and then we were messing around with it, and I haven't used it during the World Series, and I was like, I'll use it. And then I started to do the game and I'm like, I can't use this thing. And I turned it off and I slid the old remote in. But now it's just, second nature. But it does have some good functionality that helps, and some stuff that you miss having. So
So with that, and now you're working with the new LSMV. What show are you on now? You're on the Fox 8 show, right? So what cameras do you take in? What's your assignment?
I have the reverse cart 8X, and I have a near
Oh,
side handheld.
it's an 8X. It's an
It's a
eight time. That means
eight
it's an
times
eight
super
time
slow.
super slow mo or
Yep,
cart.
and my other side is 6 times super slow mo, and that's
Now,
the near side handheld.
when they talk about slow mo and 8 times, 6 times, and stuff like that, how does that affect an EVS in terms of like how many chat? Because each EVS is a server and has storage and channels, and we always
Yeah,
hear about how each phase takes up a channel. So
yeah,
does that limit what you can send? How many outputs?
yeah. I have 2 outputs and 2 inputs. I don't have any back channels, meaning like a third or a fourth input that I can record. And I can't route video either to my machine. I can only route audio because the video is hard patched or whatever they call it nowadays in the IP world, where it's just a signal sent to the machine, but it's 6 or 8 different signals from the camera and they come in line. And we got these, the BPU put from the camera puts out a little box and we could see that we're getting the right phases in order. And if they weren't, you'd see the image like, jump around, which just happened.
Is there a lot of like what we all know, we have set days and fax
Yeah.
and ESU time, and then you have work time. Is there a lot of issues when you with the trucks when you're going
Yeah.
or what's
Yeah.
that workflow like?
Well, the workflow is like if we do, I don't know what the example of which show would be better to talk about, but like NFL, we're kind of, you know, you get in the trucks, it's the same truck every week. It doesn't do another show. So the truck just goes from site to site and we follow along. And then all of our stuff is set, it's all there, but everything can change just dirt the truck, something can happen and router points can change and things could get reset, something could not work anymore. A router head breaks or RTS system, something. So we usually make sure all of our stuff works. We can route, we could do all what we need to do. But then we have to wait, we have to fax with the other departments. So, you know, fax with TD, he makes sure he could see all our machines. Fax with audio, input and output. So we make sure that all of our inputs, every button on that router that's got different audio, that every bit of it gets tested, every button, to make sure we're getting the right signal from audio. It's got, a surround mix, it's got a sub mix, it's got, programs on channel 3 into 5.1 world. There's a lot of little things that go on. Then we have to test the output of our machines. And we have 8 channels of audio. Oh no, is it 8 or 16 on that show? It's 8 on that show. So we have 8 channels of audio that we have to play out and it, just tone. And he hears every channel. And then we also have to fax with cameras because when we have I don't even know how many supermos we have on that show. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 7 supermos, anything from 3x to 8x. They all have different signals. So we have to make sure we're getting the right thing. And then video's got to look at the play out of our machines to make sure it's not flickering or, because that's
Out of
video
sync.
guy world. But, the lights in the stadium have a different refresh rate than the cameras have, you know, and the machines. So there's a lot,
How
so we're
how many
there,
guys?
we're with you know, we're with the whole crew the whole day. We're not like on our own. We're waiting for everybody else.
How many guys are in your tape? How many guys are in the A show tape room?
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on site, I think, and 3 in the vault, they call it. Like
The vault means working remotely, right? They could
yeah,
be at
well,
home or they
that's
could be at
no, the
Fox at the
vault is the
facility in
Fox.
Pico, right?
It's Pico. They call it the vault.
The
Yeah.
vault. Give a name for
So
it. So
they
it's a hub where they can those.
yeah.
So in the new world of 2110 or the IP world, it's anybody can be anywhere because the hardware will always be on site, but the controls
Yeah.
for that hardware could be anywhere. So these guys
Yeah.
are controlling sources from your from somewhere
And
else.
and they have ways to do it that don't involve IP stuff. You know, it would be like IP KVM stuff to an old remote. You know, we used to have it like that. It's ever since COVID they started doing that kind of stuff.
Has that improved workflow? Has that not improved workflow?
No,
Do
there's
guys like it? Is it good for us or bad for us? I mean, there's always
no,
change,
it's
but
not. It's not good or bad. It's just something that's coming. You know, and some local markets are losing people. You know, because I don't want to name names of networks, but they think it's cheaper to make a place in Colorado. You know, things like that.
yeah,
And then they lose
you are
local operators. It's not cool, you know?
yeah, that's
So,
unfortunate. There is some times when the technology changes and they want to do things and they can do things remotely, but I do feel like sometimes that they can do it, but they're not actually doing it the same way.
yeah,
There is going to be a difference when the people
there's a
are not there and you're not on site. It's just going to be different. Will
the
you get
only
the same? Will you get the game on? Yeah, but
the the thing with our show for Fox, for football, for baseball, postseason and that, we have the same people in the vault, remote. So that helps because they know the show, they know what's expected of them, and they know if there's any sort of delay or, you know, if their communications drop out, things like that happen, you know. So
so where are you? Where were you guys last week? I forgot what game you guys had. You had a good one last week, right?
me too. What did we do last week? Mario, jump in. Where were we? I was just there. Chicago.
Yeah, the Bears. Yeah,
Cowboys, Bears. Yeah,
Cowboys Bears.
it all blends together.
What was that? What was so? Did you have any memorable highlights on that one from your 6 times or 8 times? Anything come to mind on that
No, we
show?
had a good handheld operators, Kyle Hagan, right? He's fantastic. He had there was that strip in the beginning of the game. I forget the guys' names, but the Cowboys running back got ball stripped. And we had so many looks of it. And we have that low boy camera that Tony runs, right? Low 8X. Him and Kyle and Tony are pretty much usually kind of near each other. So Tony had this great look of it, but Kyle was real tight. And he just cleared the ref, and you saw the hand come in and grab the ball, and we used that going to break, you know.
So
So
when you have a clip and you got two machines and you have two good looks at it,
yeah.
and how do you sell it? How fast do you have to turn that around and sell it? And
Yes.
what's your terminology to sell? What do you say? X is beautiful. The Z got
Yeah.
great. What do you say?
Yeah. My machine's a Delta and L, and like you know, just like L's good. If you just say it's good, it's just the play. You just have it, right? If I have like a reaction shot like that Travis Kelsey shot, Delta reaction, or you sell it like if it happens and we're not on the air, we're in break or something, you show that you tell them that you have it, and then, oh, good, we'll get that in. And then we'll just get it in later, go into break or, at any point. But usually if it's just a play, it's great.
So your
Delta's
point to
good.
point is with
But
you deal with the tape
producer,
AD, right? A
no,
producer.
we on that show, we go right to the producer.
Oh, really? You don't have a tape. You don't.
Yeah.
There's nobody in your
No.
tape room, and you have an open key right
Yeah.
to your producer to
Yeah.
sell right to Z, huh?
We
You
tell
sell
them
right to
right to
Z, right?
Z. And that's, but it's also another reason why it's the same guys. So he knows that.
There's a trust there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it nervous the first time that you're on the A show and you're talking to a guy like Richie Zions, who's has the reputation of being he's going to be in the freaking in the Hall of Fame for
Yeah.
the career that he's had, and you
Yeah.
got to be the
Well,
guy selling him a shot, and you're not even sometimes it's got to be a little intimidating with that stuff.
yeah, the first time I worked on that show, I covered the editor, the Final Cut editor, which is Victor. And I covered him. That was going way back when he was still doing a World Series and that. So I would cover him. So I kind of like got in there for like 2 years or 3 years doing that. And then he ended up not going anymore he would stay on football. And then I just then filled in on tape, So then I started to have to sell like as a replay, and at first you're a little nervous. You don't know what everybody else has got, you know? So you got to like, not only am I looking at the inputs of my machine, the outputs of my machine, I also have the other major replay looks that are supermos on our show, just to glance up and see what they have. If he's going to X and it's the same reaction I have, then I go for something else. So there's a lot to take in when you're
So
doing that kind of show.
so you have a point to point to the producer and everything else.
Yeah.
Is there a love channel? Do you have any
We have a love
comms
channel, but
with
I have
the
a love channel with the cameras, but there's the tape love channel. We don't really we don't talk on. I don't know why that's how it started. It was just direct to the producer.
There's no love and tape, huh?
There's no love and tape. We just yell out loud and make fun of each other and stuff like that. But it's fun. But yeah, we go right to the producer. So sometimes that makes it hard with not knowing what we have. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. My little thing is always like, if I don't love what I have, and he's looking for something and he doesn't have a response, then I go, you can use Delta, and I'll go Delta and we'll go to it. And if, it's fine. It's just sometimes I feel like there's something better, but that's one of the things about not talking together on the same channel. We just talk to the producer, you don't hear each other. So on something like the Super Bowl, it becomes a gigantic thing. They bring in
Do you guys
it's crazy.
When you guys do Super Bowls and you move, like obviously you do your regular season, you get to the Super Bowls or the playoffs, and you ramp up, you add probably more guys to the tape and stuff like that. Do you go? How are your meetings? Because like I know, like for us, the camera guys, we go into directors meetings all the time. We get notes, we get headshots, we get note sheets, we get storyline stuff. You get a whole bunch of stuff. What do you guys get?
It's well, it's funny that you asked that, because we don't have a meeting. We don't have to go to the camera meeting. It's not expected of us. I've worked on other shows for Fox. Every other one, you go to the meeting. The producer comes in and talks. But we don't even have one local tape operator. We all travel so everyone knows what they have, everybody knows what they're looking for. It's a different story. But when we do like the Super Bowl, we go to the camera meeting because there are cameras and machines and stuff like that we don't normally have. So then we go to that, which I know it's funny.
Yeah.
We don't.
Do you guys talk? So then do you guys talk amongst yourselves to kind of figure stuff out and figure out, hey, listen, if you really got something before on your machine because your camera got this or whatever, I mean, sometimes you have to Do you make a preference on for an 8 times look over another, or no? How do you
whatever
decide?
the best picture is? It's the truth. It could be a regular up cam, no high speed, but it's the best picture that shows the story. It doesn't really matter if it's a Supermo or not. It's just nice when it's down low, real tight. It looks great. Whatever gets the story across. Because the story, remember, it's not just a scoring a touchdown. It's some guy made the play, some guy didn't make a play, right? Somebody did something earlier that led to this situation. There's a lot going on when we do a football game. We're trying to get every image that reflects the play that just happened on the air. Like if the touchdown happens, sometimes we don't show the touchdown to break. We show like the interception and somebody's reaction to turning the ball over. We don't show
Do you have anything else around you? Do you keep a roster? The 3 deeps.
We got a roster. We get rosters. We get headshots of coaches and stuff.
Let me ask you this. So, as a guy how many you've been doing this for 20 something years, at least, right?
Yeah, 20
something years now. This is you've gone through technology changes in your career, and you've worked through them, and you're probably at the top of your game, working on Super Bowls. You're on the Fox 8 show. You are where a lot of people who could get into this business would want to end up getting to. Do you still feel that your job and industry and your craft is still a viable craft? Or do you still say, hey, if you're young and you want to do EVS, this is still a good path for you?
Yeah, yeah. You just have to be willing to deal with if industry is different. They cut and they're regional stuff. If outside of New York or they just cutting and
So it's
changing
not the work. It's
location,
just it's
remote.
the
Yeah,
big
it's
issue
just
is
the
not
way
the
that
work.
it's
It's the
going.
value of the work, that whether or not you're going to get the value of the
Yeah,
work that you do. Because everybody puts 100%
yeah,
into what they do, and you
yeah,
want to be compensated equally for what you feel is the value. And I
yeah.
get it. Yeah, I know. I mean,
And
I've always felt like, listen, I've worked a few Super Bowls in my career too, and I'm going to be honest. I have never worked a Super Bowl for above scale. I've worked them all for freaking scale. Not that I
yeah,
didn't ask for more money. I did,
yeah,
but they're not
yeah,
willing to pay. Certain
yeah,
people, if you're a core guy, I was never a core guy on the show. So I mean, honestly, probably I should have been happy just to have been asked. But
yeah,
sometimes you want to be, listen, you're a handheld, you're doing something a little bit more. You kind of want a little more for what you're doing, but
yeah,
it's hard to get that value. And that's the
Look,
thing I wish I would have known in the beginning, because what I thought, when you get experience in this business, that you can monetize that experience long term,
yeah,
you do and you don't. You're not going to always get your top dollar rate, but you will
yeah.
find a lot of clients, if you do this long enough, that will appreciate all that experience and what you bring to the table, and then we'll give you more money sometimes.
how far are we away from EVS operators just working from home?
It can happen right now.
Right.
It is
No,
happening now. It is happening now. Oh yeah, Park.
but they got to send you the kit like you need. It's not just
Hey,
EVS.
I was gonna say you have to have
Remote.
a full kit. Like, are EVS operators like investing in a kit like that, or are they like
No,
being-
it gets
No,
shipped
well,
in.
you really couldn't. You really can't because like Game Creek has their own Game Creek Anywhere, whatever they call it, and they send it. It's a router head. It's an RTS panel. It's a Wohler to monitor your audio. You know,
Gotcha.
there's a lot to it. EVS claims they're trying to make it all into machine, but that could only work so much, if you ask me.
But it's not something that you would ever invest in. It's something that the
No,
client
I
would
would.
ship to
They
you
would give
and
me.
say, hey, we
Yeah,
need you to do. But for me, I understand it, because listen, if you're an EVS guy and you're a top EVS guy, Eric, and if the company would really want to work you 5 days a week, you know what I mean? They would, they would have to travel work you, fly you here, to go over there, whatever.
yeah,
But if they can put you somewhere else, fly you to LA, and then put you on 3 games in a row for three different days without having
yeah.
to travel, would you want, like, that's not bad for you, but good and bad. I mean, I don't know. That's a decision
Well,
you
how
have to make
how important
if
is it to
offered.
be like with the producers in the truck and your
Important.
other colleagues?
I think it's important. It is. The crew. Not only do you're like friendly with them. I'm friends with everybody I work with. They're all great, but you're like a team too. Everybody knows what to do, and you're all together, and you're like to be like apart, to be doing a game, in Washington D.C. and then some of the crew in L.A. They're still the crew. But to make the change, I feel like would be difficult. Like if they sent me to remote for home, I don't know. I don't know. I'd be worried that I wouldn't be like as locked into it, to steal terminology
Mm,
from my daughter, as locked in as I should
that's a
be.
good
Because
point.
you're not you're away from everything. There's something to be said about being at the stadium, you
Yeah,
know,
I can agree with that.
and then
I got, I
not to
want
mention
to,
if you were home, right? Another thing they have to be able to feed you is they just feed you like a multi-viewer. And then you have like, okay, I can fit 9 things in here. You're not
Right.
seeing all the cameras, you're not seeing what everyone else has. It's a different way to do it.
Mhm.
it limits you. It changes the way you do the job, and it's not the ideal way to do the job. Can
Yeah.
you get through it? Probably, but
Yeah.
it's
Oh, it
not
would be
it's not
fine.
ideal.
Yeah, I would do it. But yeah.
Well, Eric, I want to thank you for sharing a lot of your knowledge with the EVS, and and giving a lot of the insights to what it's like to do your job, and how you got to the path for your craft. And it's been really interesting to see all the different ways that you have to look at different things, and to be able to pay attention to what's happening in the room with your colleagues as well. But I
Yeah.
wanted to get to another guy who happened to join here, who I wasn't sure was going to make it because I messed up I messed up the passwords on the meeting, I think, today a little bit.
I
But
had that problem.
yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. But I got my friend Keith Rees, who's from the CBS A show. Keith, how are you, buddy?
Good, Hardy. How are you doing?
I'm all right, my friend. Thank you for joining the Crew Call Live, my man. Listen, this to me, you know, I only know a little bit about your story because we worked together, a handful of times. I've been lucky enough to fill in on your show. You're on the CBS NFL A show. How many years are you on that show, Keith?
The A show. Let's see. I've done the reverse card for that show for, I think this is my 14th year on reverse card, and I was on Suzanne Smith's like C Crew before that, about
Sure, that was fun.
7 years, and I would go up and join. Like Saul Bress would take off for Jewish holidays, so I'd go up. Me and a couple other guys would split doing reverse card for Mike then, and then playoff time. And I mean, I've probably been with Mike for probably 17, 18 years now, maybe 19.
And then, and how many years was CBS total? I mean, you started with them early on.
Yeah, I started with, I did NBC's package when they had Sundays, when they had the 5 games day, and then they kind of gave it up, and then I guess Fox took it over. So I was with NBC from like 96 till like 97 or not. No, I was with them for about 2-3 years, and then they lost it. And then for a year, I went up and I did the Notre Dame package for NBC because I didn't really know anybody from CBS at the time, and I had NBC. So they gave me the NBC because a few of the guys from NBC's A show with Gonzalez, they went with CBS's A show at the time. I think Cavallina directed it. And I stayed with NBC, and I did the Notre Dame, and I did a few things for them. And then I started doing like CBS when they'd come to Three Rivers, or I live in Pittsburgh. So when they'd come to Three Rivers, I started doing local. They got my name from NBC, who'd you use when you're in Pittsburgh. And it took me about a year or so, year and a half. And they were still kind of forming their crews. Even after about a year and a half, they were looking for people like who they liked. And I got asked to start traveling with them. So I'd probably say since I did home stuff with them from like 98, 99 when they first got it, but travel probably since 2000. Yeah.
Now I want to go a little. I want to go a little further back in time because you had a very interesting start in your career. I mean, you have an incredible accredited career in sports and what you've done in the last 15 years, 20 years, working with CBS and countless Super Bowls and amazing stuff. But I'm more interested right now in your start in Pittsburgh. Yeah. Well, just to let other people know, I'm going to try to show people. If you can explain that picture, would be great.
Well, I started in 1988 with Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, which was filmed in Pittsburgh at the public broadcasting station.
Oh yeah.
And I got an internship there. I was still in college, and I got an internship there, and they liked Fred Rogers, the producer, and everything. They liked me so much that they wanted me beyond the internship to stay and work as a production assistant and kind of wear a lot of hats, learn TV, whatever. And I'm like you, Hardy. I mean, if you would have told me even my first year at college, if I'd be working in television, I would have said you were probably absolutely nuts. I mean, like I never TV when I was in high school or anything, but I fell in love with television working there. It was like an incredible experience. I tell people, like, almost right out of the box, I kind of achieved my Mount Everest. You know what I mean? Like, I was working on this show that was internationally known around all these incredible people. And like, it was doing such good for kids, like every show was like, he'd get letters from Germany, Japan, everywhere, and, like the fact that I was being a part of that, even though I was a production assistant, like Fred Rogers would treat the production assistant and the janitors and whoever the same way he would the president of PBS, which was like amazing, you know, like a guy of his stature, like everybody mattered to him, everybody, you know.
So you were how old? I mean, you were a young guy, man. You look, I mean, you were how old are you in that picture, man? I mean, you got to be 20 something in your 20s?
24.
24 years old. You remember that camera? Do you remember working on that camera?
In fact, Mr. Rogers took that picture because it was a union shop. So I worked, QED was the actual public broadcasting station in Pittsburgh, but Fred, his company was called Family Communication. So I actually worked for Family Communication, who they leased space out of. They had their offices were over in the QED building, and they would use the QED staff, obviously, to film the shows in the studios. But like I worked for FCI, so I wasn't actually in the union at that point because Fred, I was working for him and his company. But I kind of I've always been a visual kid. Like I'll send you someday. Like I used to draw animation, like, and I drew pretty well. So, and when I was little, I always took pictures that people were like, who took this? And when my mom would tell me it was me, they'd be like, you know, like that 7-year-old kid took that, you know. So I've always kind of just viewed the world like visually, just in a different way, I guess. And Fred picked up on that because I told him that I was interested in the camera. So they made arrangements that if I was willing, his one camera guy, his name was Bobby Vaughn. He said, all I do is during lunchtime, I go outside the studio and smoke. He goes, if you're willing to give up your lunch, you want to come in the studio during off time, like lunch hour. He goes, I'll put you on the camera. I'll run the trolley. You can follow it. You can ask me anything.
I'll run the trolley. Oh my God, the trolley.
Yeah, like I was following the trolley along the tracks. And, you know, and it's funny, Hardy, because I can remember like looking at the one butt on a camera and it's like ×2. And I said to him, to Bobby Vaughn, I said, like, what's this do? And he goes, well, if you hit it, it magnifies it twice. So I hit it and the trolley like literally went from like whatever in my frame to like full frame and beyond. And I was kind of like, wow, I mean, that really magnified it twice, you know, twice the amount that it was. So I tell people no matter how big they get, like, you know, how kind of like I've worked around some people that, you know, I get the feeling they don't think TV would exist if they weren't a part of it, you know? And I always tell them to kind of like bring them down to a little bit down to earth that everybody had a day one, you know what I mean? Like I've worked with a couple camera guys that if utility asks a question, he can't be bothered and he you know, like shushes them off and does whatever. And I'll go up to that person at some point during the day and just say, like, you had a day one where you didn't know what the hell anything was, and somebody had to teach you, you know.
Yeah.
I don't
Hey,
know if this is your
That's a great
know if
quote.
that is-
I love that quote. Everyone's had a day one.
Right.
That's all.
Yeah, that is. Everybody did have a day one in this business. That's the coolest thing about it. You know, everybody gets a start. You know, you had mentors along the way. People helped you. You know, you had a chance to learn, and and you know, obviously Mr. Rogers influenced so many kids and so many people, but to be actually have had a relationship with the man, and to have, you know, he's obviously impacted you, and you know, you don't forget people. That's what I've always told my kids too. In life, you can meet one person in life, and that person can have the ability to change your life.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. I'll give you a little tidbit. Who actually worked on the cruise, a stagehand, and would show up with tennis shoes with holes in them, and his jeans would have rips, was Michael Keaton.
Oh, really? He worked there?
He was a stagehand. I'll send you a picture sometime. He was like help with the lighting. He helped with the cabling, and his real name is actually Michael Douglas. But when he left QED to go on to Hollywood, because he was Fred even picked up that he was talented, you know, very funny. And but like here in Pittsburgh, and I'm sure it's like that in New York and a few other, definitely, you know, his last name meant everything to him. And he had a real problem giving up Michael Douglas. But his agent literally told him like there was already a Michael Douglas and it wasn't going to work, you know, so he, you know, come up with something else. So finally, here's the story. He said the first actress that he met in Hollywood, he would take her last name, and it was Diane Keaton.
Oh, that's an interesting. That's a really cool little tidbit there. I didn't know that one. I wonder if that's a nice one, man. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, so that's how he got Michael Keaton. He met Diane Keaton. He gave up the last name Douglas. But when he comes to Pittsburgh, when he comes back to Pittsburgh, he's Michael Douglas. Like he won't go by Michael Keaton, like amongst anybody that knew him.
Well, I'm glad he didn't meet Janet Jackson.
I gotta bounce, but awesome storytelling.
Thank you.
We need to get more people on this for sure. Already, just like in the 10 minutes that I was on here, there's already been so much knowledge dropped. I wish there'd be more experienced camera
I think
operators.
I messed up tonight with the email. I think I sent out a wrong draft to the people with that's why the audience is a little light tonight. I kind of messed up the group email, but Keith, your stories are fantastic, man. Your career, what you've done, the people you've met. I mean, it's really interesting when you think about, you're a guy from Pittsburgh. It's a small, Pittsburgh is a heart town, man. There's a lot of heart there, and it's a good sports town.
Yeah, definitely. I'll give you one last thing, Hardy, on Mr. Rogers. This is where I really kind of like I would do a production assistant, like I said. So like before they start shooting, the programs, I would help like get things on the set ready and things like that. I'd go back behind the castle and help him with his script sometimes. We were going behind whatever his like where he'd have his puppets. I'd go back and like what was funny was different voice inflections had different symbols. So when he looked down and he was like the king, it had to be a square because as soon as he saw that square, he'd know that was the inflection for the king, and he'd go right to the wording of the script. And then a triangle was another one, and a circle was another. So he would just constantly just be scanning down, looking at the shapes, and that's how he knew what voice to get into. But what I wanted to tell you though was he so we were doing a thing on the environment, and there was a garbage strike basically in the neighborhood of Make Believe, and garbage was piling up like there was nobody's business. So like Monday, we were shooting Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So Monday and Tuesday, me and a few others that were wearing many hats, we had this garbage, like just empty milk jugs, everything, garbage, plastic bags, whatever, you name it, all along the neighborhood. Okay. So here, the director, we come in Thursday and I'm back behind wherever with Fred. And the director starts this thing. Well, we left Fred's house and he'd take you with the trolley. He would take you into the neighborhood of Make Believe. So the director at the time, his name was Paul Lally. He starts out with just this kind of like, just a medium shot of like one of the real people that were like a neighbor of the thing who would communicate to the puppets, So he starts out with just this kind of somewhat tight shot of just the real person on the left side of the frame, the puppet on the right, and just behind the puppet was some garbage, So I said to Fred, like they recorded it, and I said to Fred, like I would pan like all the garbage and then end up on them, you know what I mean? Because I said you're not really picking up on what we did the last 2 days, like that shot doesn't show anything but a few pieces of garbage. So Fred like literally listened to me, and he looked at me and he goes, I like that. He goes like that he goes, I like that. He goes, we're going to change it. So I find out later on, the producer, Margie, came up to me and she said, like, she has never seen Fred change a shot from what he kind of like. Fred was very receptive to a lot of things, but like the producer came up to me because Fred said, Keith said this, and I like that. So the producer came up to me like when the day was over, and she said, she goes, I got to pat you on the back. She goes, because Fred changed what we were doing because of the way you saw it, and because you helped create that garbage outside the frame and brought that up. Like she just said, like, it was great. You spoke up. It was great. Fred liked it. So right there and then it kind of showed me like, okay, this guy's actually listening to me, even though I'm a production assistant, And
That's amazing encouragement. Like, I mean, because
Yeah.
some people would have shot you down. Hey, man, that's way out of
Right.
yeah. Like that's a giving move, man.
yeah, it's a giving move. It's a giving move, Hardy. I mean, and it's like, and then years later, like I worked with him for 4 years, and then I remained friends with him. Well, this is a funny story. I don't know how much time you have, but
With these stories, I got plenty. Don't worry.
so I worked with Fred from the 88 to 92. So they were starting to kind of slow down. Like he knew he was going to be retiring in the next 6, 7 years. And I literally was just starting my career. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I was just out of college doing this for a couple of years.
So you had not done any sports at all. You had no sports
None.
experience at all.
None. Now this is where it's going to get funny. So Fred said to me, like in 92, I kind of was like, he started telling me, or after about 4 years there, because like I said, again, he knew he was going to start slowing it down, and he knew I was just in the beginning of my career. So he'd say to me, like, so you like TV? And I said, yeah, I mean, working here, I love it. You know what I mean? And he goes, well, what would you like to do in television? Like, what other interests would you have that you'd want to do in television? So, you know, I mean, all I knew was working on that show. So I'm thinking, and I said, like I played high school football and I did some track, you know, I mean, I played sports in high school. So I said, I don't know, maybe like doing NFL, because I grew up watching as a kid, you know, sports. I said, maybe,
Yeah. Oh well. Oh, you watch football in Pittsburgh,
yeah,
NFL during the Steelers. Oh no, poor you during the dynasty times.
that's a birthright. Yeah. So anyway, so all I said was that, okay, Hardy. I just said to him, I'm like, yeah, I don't know, Fred. Like, I never really thought about it. I said, yeah, maybe sport. Yeah, maybe sports. You know, like that. So like 2 or 3 weeks went by, and I had just got married, and we were living. My wife, who now we're in this house, but we were in a little tiny apartment because you know she was working at a bank, and I was working at Fred's like 28 hours a week. You know, 30 hours a week. So about 3 weeks after that conversation with Fred, we had a little downtime because we got done shooting that for that period. And then usually it'd be a month or so off and then go get ready for the fall thing, you know. So I get a phone call at my little apartment, and this guy on the phone says, I want to speak to Keith Rees. And I said, because my wife was working and I was home, and I'm like, this is Keith Rees. And he goes, I hear you'd like to work, you're interested in working television sports. And I, you know, in my head, I'm thinking like, okay, like I told Fred, it's the only person I ever told. And I said, yeah, I made that statement. I said, how did you know? And he goes, well, I'm a very good friend with Fred Rogers, and he highly recommended that I give you a call and talk to you. And I was like, okay. And I said, what's your name? And he goes, my name's Dick Ebersol. And
wow, Dick Ebersol called you, huh? If you guys don't know who Dick Ebersol is a pioneer in sports television. Pioneer.
I found out later he helped start Saturday Night Live and all that. And he was like the first year or two, he was involved with that.
He took over for a season. I think he was one of the guys. I think they were fired. What's the Lauren Michaels, and then he took over for a couple.
Now, this is how stupid I was about it, Hardy. I had no idea who he was. I had no idea. And when he said, my name is Dick Ebersol, I think my reply was, well, are you a guy that does the hiring or what? You know, like
you the crewer? You asked Dick Ebersol if he was the crewer?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, because I had zero idea who this guy was. I never heard of him. And Fred, though, had so many people that knew him in high places. Like, I'll tell you one last story. I was in his office one time doing something for him in between shooting in the set. Like, I'd help out with him, like doing things in the office for him, like, you know, recording tapes for him or whatever. And one time I'm in there, he leaves the office and he goes to a secretary, and a call comes in for Fred. But Fred would always tell me, when I leave the office, if the phone rings, just pick it up and tell him, like, find out who it is and tell him I'll either be right back. Well, he had Jim Henson call, and he had Jim Henson had his call forwarded to his office, and Fred's phone rang. I pick it up, and he's doing the Kermit the Frog voice, because told him let's have some fun, you know, because he was out with his secretary who forwarded the call. So like Fred ran in circles that were like amazing. But like I told you, the great thing with Fred was I saw him treat these old janitors like they were the head of PBS. Like he knew that their wives were in the hospital. He'd go see them after the show to go visit them in the hospital. Like he treated everybody with the utmost respect, you know. And like I said, Dick Ebersol, like he was friends with him, you know, like Dick Ebersol and whoever else like knew Fred and loved him. So
I wish we had more Mr. Rogers or people like that in this country anymore. I mean, I strongly believe they're still out there. I think the real Mr. Rogers guys who are in this country are the guys like you behind closed doors, family men who just live right, do the right thing, and are just trying to, you know, make a living, take care of their families, and, you know, stack up a little positive karma on the back end, you know?
So this is where then it makes then the story I told you earlier. That's why I was with NBC before CBS.
So Ebersol gave your name to the actual crewer, and then they gave you some opportunities.
Yeah,
and
like
took advantage of the
we
opportunity.
were a few times for the Steelers, and it was a lot of times it was their A show, and I got to meet like Pete Stendel, guys like that, and I picked their brains. You know, I was a utility. You know what I mean? Like I picked their brains. I saw guys that I knew that had talent right off the bat. And I would just always, my dad always said to me, if you want to be great, look at guys that do it great, and like just ask them, you know, and just ask questions, you know.
That's exactly why I'm doing this, man, because I always felt like Eric was on before and he said, God, you know, you can't just learn the equipment and think you can do the job. It's other stuff that you have to put together. It's a collaborative work environment. You got to know your shit. You got to know your gear, man, but you got to develop your eyes, and you got to develop your ears, and you got to work with others, and you got to put it all together, and then know how to manage it all the time.
So that's my beginning. I mean, it was literally over at a PBS station in Pittsburgh in 1988, and it went till 92. And then I had this guy named Dick Ebersol, who I thought was a crewer, call me. Stinky apartment. And it kind of all started there, and it just started, you know. And then Fred, I'll give you a great thing. This sums Fred up in a heart, and totally sums Fred up, Hardy. So I did my first Super Bowl with Mike in Super Bowl 41 when the Colts played the Bears. It was Prince, because I did the halftime show too. It was
you
Prince.
did the purple. You did freaking Purple Rain halftime show. Oh my, that's a legendary halftime show.
Yeah,
dude. Obviously, you got wet. That was Miami, right?
I got soaked. Yeah, I got soaked. I mean, I was soaked. I had rain gear on, and
I've seen your rain gear. That's questionable if you had rain gear.
Yeah, exactly. You know me. Yeah. But we went back to the hotel after that was all over, like at midnight or 1 a.m. And I mean, I was soaked down to my boxers. I mean, like it was just saturating wet, you know. But so anyway, so I get done with my first Super Bowl. While I'm at the very first one, was Super Bowl 41. Like in my head, right before kickoff, I'm thinking like, man, like if it wasn't for Fred, like who knows where I would have been? You know, I mean, you know, like I wouldn't have met this Dick Ebersol, and that wouldn't involve the CBS. Like I kept thinking, like when I get back to Pittsburgh, I'm calling his secretary. I want to go in, and I want to let him know verbally, like that I will never forget that the opportunity he gave me. You know what I mean? Like by giving my name to somebody and whatnot. So I go in to see him. Like we get back to the Super Bowl Monday night. So I schedule to go see him by Thursday of that week. And I go in, Hardy, to his office, and I said, Fred, first of all, I want to tell you, I just did a Super Bowl. Well, he just thought that was, you know, just the greatest, you know. And I said to him, I don't want you to ever forget that I will never forget that you opened the door to make all this possible. Like, I mean, I don't know where I would have gone from your show, but you kind of opened the door to make this happen. And without missing a beat, Hardy, Fred looked me dead in the eyes and he said, I may have opened the door, but you walked through it.
That is an amazing thing to say. Like he recognized your talent, but I'm sure it made him really proud to see what you did with it, with your opportunities. I mean, like you said, he did open the door, man, but you freaking took
Watson.
advantage of that opportunity. That's what people can learn from these conversations is that,
Right.
listen, you never know when you're going to get the opportunity and you never know who's going to give you the opportunity. But when you do get that opportunity, take advantage of it.
Absolutely.
Think about it, plan about it, and just have the confidence in yourself. I know so many people, I always tell people, don't listen, filter out other people's BS. Because the only enemy is yourself. Everybody knows the person in the mirror is their own worst enemy. Most people talk themselves out of anything else before anybody else will talk you out of anything else. So the only person you really have to worry about is yourself. So once you get yourself on your own team, you should be good. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, Hardy. Absolutely. So then that just all evolved. I mean, it all started rolling. I mean, then like I told you, I was doing Notre Dame, and then CBS came along. And then I had a spurt where I had about a year or so, I was doing a little more music than I was sports. I started doing like VH1. Somehow I got connected to a producer, and they took me out on the road to do the behind the music stories. So I'd have to get just basically B-roll footage of different artists, and they put them to these VH1 things. That's at the Masters. Grimes guy, you're not allowed to have a camera at the Masters, but this Grimes guy, he had to make sure all the towers were safe down in Augusta. And he quietly snapped his picture of me, and he said, I'll send you this because I know you're not allowed to have cameras or phones down there. So
how do you explain that one then?
that was where we ate. That was okay.
That's cool. But then you've been doing a lot of different stuff, huh? This is during the playoffs. I love that. This is a Kansas City, and you have to rig your viewfinder with some foil, and you had to go over your lens with cardboard because the sun was in your lens, right?
Right. And that's my secret. I get tin foil. I go to, before a season starts, baseball or football especially, I go to the kitchens and I go see the cooks, and I give them a CBS hat or whatever, and they give me a roll of tin foil, and I'll tin foil about 7 layers, and then I black wrap it on both sides, and then I can form that thing any way I want to block out something to the left, block out something to the right, tilt down, whatever. There's you.
Oh yeah, that's what you say. Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
but yeah, I make those like every year. You can see it. That's the halftime. Now we could talk about this. This is interesting.
This is a cart.
This was Super Bowl when Brady beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, all right. This is the one with the cutouts, right? So all those lights, there's just lights in the stands, right? There was nobody there.
Right, exactly. And that was the weekend, and to go back one, Hardy, like that was the first time ever the stage was in the end zone. It wasn't on the field because they were trying to keep that like kind of limited away from the field. That's how everybody was so paranoid about everything. So they had this set. The actual stage was like behind the end zone, but then at the end he comes down onto the field with his dancers. So you spoke earlier about confidence, and this is where I would tell younger people, like when you get confidence, like don't be afraid, because I think like really good directors and producers, but we deal more with directors. They like to know that that you're confident, you can do it. So now that weekend, this was interesting. I was doing a double cart with Mario Zecca. We hired him to do that because Fox didn't have a Super Bowl that year. So Mario was on the bottom and I was on my top. So because we only do a single cart on CBS on the far side till the Super Bowl. So I don't do a lot of double cart. So Mario, since he does a lot of double cart, it was great to have him because he knows the deal. So I was involved with the halftime show. So Mario could go back to the hotel early, So we rehearsed those Super Bowl halftime shows like 2 nights. And the first night we must do that show 7 times over, and we're there till like midnight, So here on the one shots when the weekend was on the field, those ribbon boards, the vertical ribbon boards you see up there in the black and white, that was me. Like that was my only responsibility for the halftime. Like when he was on the stage, I didn't really have any assignments. I was just literally watching the show.
Oh, so the tight shots you see of him in the screens, he needed you to shoot that tight and be on it for when he nailed it. But when he hits that spot,
right. And there was several times there was like 7 different critical times. And I didn't know at first, like Hamish directed it. And like, you could see it there. He went to a wide shot, but you could see them shots like in the upper up there in the black and white. So, and now this is kind of crazy too. These shots that you're showing right now, the Weekend emailed me when the Super Bowl was over, and he sent these as screen grabs. Like,
wait, he emailed you?
yeah,
He emailed you the
Yeah.
Weekend. You get out of here.
Well, this is why, because that shot was, I even told Mario this, and Mario's like, "You're gonna nail it," But during rehearsal, we were shooting him head to toe, like just a tight head to toe, because what I found out later on, Hardy, was those vertical ribbon boards, they compress them and everything. So like, he had to be dead center of that, like the middle third of the frame, like the outer thirds, forget it. He had to be literally dead center in the middle of those frames. And the way then he wanted that shot, he wanted it like literally collarbone up. And like, if his nose even fell slightly out of like the middle of the third frame, half his face was off the board. Like, that's how crazy it was, So,
and you're shooting on a cart from the sidelines too. And you don't know exactly the exact spot. You can mark it kind of where he is, but it's still a
right. So we do it head to toe, and then they go back after about 2 rehearsals, and then they give us a lunch, and then the director goes back with the Weekend, and they're watching everything and this and that. So he comes back like on the 3rd rehearsal after lunch, and he literally, because now you got to remember too, this was COVID, so we couldn't even talk to the man. Like, usually directors, you have a big face-to-face camera meeting. Like, we couldn't see him. Like, it was all texting and just calling on a phone, So on headset, he said to me, the Weekend, his actual name is Abel Tessmain. And he goes like, Abel, the Weekend, he wants to see if you could tighten that shot more than head to toe. He goes, but the key critical thing is my engineers are telling me, like, it's kind of a hard ask, because like, like if he even falls half his nose out of the frame, like it's going to like literally take half his face out of the vertical thing, because they're compressing and all this. So, being confident, like you said, having confidence, I look at it, and I said to Hamish on the headset, I said, I got this. I said, tell him I got this. You know what I mean? Like, don't worry about it, So Hamish is like, okay. So we rehearse it, and I put like, literally, I got some paper tape, and I literally asked them to have him stand there a second and look, and I was able to look at the vertical ribbon board. So I framed it where I knew he couldn't go out of on the east side. Like I knew it, and really, like the front part of the third was more critical than the back of his head. You know what I mean? Like, because the front part,
because the face, you want to keep his face, yeah.
And that was what they really wanted. Like, was because he smiled and near the end that they had to capture the smile. But the crazy thing, Hardy, though, was with that, if you ever watch it, it's on YouTube. When he hits the field, what happened was, like, there were a couple times where he ducked down and his dancers are dancing around him, like like a spiral. And like, I can't see him at all. Like I can't see him, because he ducked down to the field and just let his dancers kind of spiral out of control. But when he popped back up, like, I only had about a quarter to a half a second to get him and get him framed right. And, have him ready for the shot. So when the ribbon board, there it is. When the ribbon board came on, he wouldn't be half his face off the thing. It would ruin everything, So anyway, so we rehearsed it, and Hamish said to me, Keith, he goes, like, you did it totally. If you can do this Sunday night, everybody's gonna be ecstatic, I said, okay. So I said to Mario, then we got talking. I said to Mario, like it's one thing with rehearsal, but like, there's no do-overs. Like, this is live, and there's no do-overs to this. And like, and Mario said to me, he goes, Keith, I watched you during rehearsal. He stayed to watch. He goes, you got it. Don't worry about it. He goes, you can do. He goes, us sports guys can track things more than even his entertainment guys. And Mario's right. Like, because like I noticed, us sports guys and that following things tight and everything. Like, it was tough. It was very tough. I'm not gonna lie, but it wasn't as tough as his engineers and that were totally making it out to be to me. So anyway, we pulled it off on Super Bowl night. I nailed him every time he wanted to be on that ribbon board with a wide shot. You know, like this was his other thing. He was a very artistic guy. He put $6 million of his own money into that halftime show, I found out. So he wanted it to really be like what he wanted. So like when that shot came up, it was exactly with the way I guess he wanted it. And it all went off without a hitch. And literally about a Friday of that later of that week, I get this email from him. His name's Abel Testmain. And he sent me image grabs of 6 or 7 spots where that you just showed. And he said, Keith, he goes, I found out like that this was a hard ask we were asking of you. But he goes, I rewatched this several times. He goes, and you nailed it better than I ever could even expected. See right there. That was, well, no, I'm sorry. That's his entertainment guys there. If you notice, look, if you rewind it a little bit there, Hardy, his entertainment guys were like head to toe. That's where Mario.
Yeah, they were wider on that. Yeah.
He was falling off the screen on them just being head to
Yeah.
toe.
Yeah. When he came out, he was a little, it just popped in there. I was a little off on that.
That was his entertainment guys, and they were keeping him head to toe. And now you can imagine them, he's falling off the screen. And now this guy wants me to be literally like chest up, you know. So it showed you how unforgiving that shot was on that ribbon board, you know.
Do you have other memorable shots? So like this was a cool experience for the Super Bowl and halftime. I mean, is there a shot when you think about in your career, is there one shot that you feel like, you know what, I want to be that one. I remember that one, and that, that one will always be the one that like that made you feel like, all right, there's always a shot that makes you feel like, I always say everybody wants to be great at their job, and it's great to be great, but great is not something that's achieved and maintained. You'll get moments of greatness, and that's what you can always try. I mean, you should be happy to be good at what you do, with moments of greatness. But is there a moment of greatness that you come back on and feel like, oh man, that was one of the times that I really was there and I fucking nailed it?
Yeah, I mean, like it's not like a wish knee with the tiger ball going in and all that. I mean, like some of those CBS staff guys, man, they were a May Hulk and all them, and Sal and Saul and Sarge, all them guys. They did so many big events and had they all had like something that was incredible. But it's funny. Like I guess now you ask me, I never really thought about it, but I tell you one that I always remember was I did Tiger's last Masters victory in 2019, and it went to Sunday, and him and this Italian Molinari, I think it was supposed to rain, so they did split tees Sunday morning because they wanted to be done by 2 because this massive storm was coming in, and Tiger was only 1 shot off the lead, or I think he was tied going into Sunday morning. Yeah, he was tied, I believe. So anyway, I was on hole 3, and the guy that did the green, I was doing flanker. The caddies were blocking his putt, so he gets on the headset with me real quick and says, "Keith, can you take the putt? I'll get the react." He goes, "I'm blocked." I said, "Okay." So I get the putt, and it was the first birdie that Tiger birdied that day on 3. And it gave him the lead, which he never relinquished. You know what I mean? Like that whole rest of that day. And it, like later on, I didn't think about it, but somebody come up to me, one of my buddies, and said, you got like his first birdie that day on 3, and he goes, and I heard him switch over. So you got the putt, and it was no big deal. I mean, it was just a putt. Bob Bettini was directing. He wanted to make sure I had like 4 or 5 rows of crods in the background if he made it. Cause it was a pretty decent, it's probably about a 25, 30 footer, but like, I think of that shot often, and it's not that big of a shot. You know what I mean? It's not, like I said, it's not like Wishney with the ball tight. I've had a lot of tight shots in Super Bowls of like Brady, with Tampa. I mean, Mahomes, whatever. You know what I mean? Like I've had those, but for some reason it was a simple shot, but it's a shot that I think about because I thought, like, I got his first birdie that day, Sunday morning. And that was like definitely his last Masters and last major victory,
Did you think when you saw him hit the birdie that, okay, he's going to make a run at this? You're like, oh, okay, he's now,
Yeah. there was something going on that course that day, that like that morning, that you could kind of sense, even though I was on 3, after he left, like 2 holes later, I think he got another birdie, or you could just hear the roar like from 5, 6 holes away at times, like, yeah. I kind of thought, like, when he got that birdie, I was thinking like, man, this guy might actually pull it off and win, I mean, at his age at that point, but like I said, it was actually a simple shot. I mean, it wasn't anything, but in my memory, it was like, I guess it was one that I never had that question asked to me. So that's one of the things that popped up,
That's funny. Yeah, everybody has that one that they kind of remember. What my one is funny too. My one, I got called to work a women's World Cup, and it was like, I was still early in my career, and it was USA Mexico, and I was doing a handheld, and Mia Hamm was favorite, in that, for that. And this wasn't even like, it wasn't a championship game or nothing. It was just, I think, one of their earlier games, but it was obviously playing Mexico. It was their first real, challenge of a match. And Mia Hamm scores a goal. And like, listen, moments of greatness, I'm going to say I was lucky, but I was luckier than good. You know what I mean? But she kicks this ball and she's just in line with me. So I see the kick. I rack with the ball to the goalie. The goalie jumps, misses the ball. I rack back to her as she turns around and screaming like, ah, and she's running at me. And it's just like, it was all, the story was all just in my frame. She comes running at me, running back to the bench. I'm taking her back the whole way, whatever, blah, blah. But the funny thing was, I knew it was a great shot. It was awesome. And after the show, this was an LA director. I had never worked with him before. I just remember he was wearing like karate pants and freaking sandals. And I was like, that's LA. And so he comes to me after he was come, because I never worked with him before. Because I think he was British too, and he was living out in LA. He's, mate, fantastic job tonight, fantastic job on the pitch. And he gives me all the. He's like, I don't know what you're doing, but we're gonna have to have you on some more of these games. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm sure, I'll be happy to do some more of these. Great. Never heard from them again. So,
we've all had that.
Yeah. I was like, oh, great. I'll be doing the World Cup. I'll be doing all this. No, never call me back. So, but I remembered that shot when I got home. It was all over ESPN and all the news and every blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But I just remembered it was just a great shot. So,
yeah, it went worldwide. It's funny, Hardy. I'll leave you with this. Like, it's funny. Like, probably my best memories or like of things were halftime shows, because like you said, that Prince one, like that night it was happening real time in my head, with the rain coming down through the spotlights, and it's bouncing off like it hit me that night while it was happening. I'm like, this is like epic, you know what I mean? And then at the end, when he sang Purple Rain with this rain pouring all over the place, I was just kind of like, man, like I'm a part of something that I think eventually was going to be memorable. You know what I mean? Like, and then after he died, now the very beginning here, Hardy, this is funny. I was doing high end zone for Mike, because like I told you, Saul was still doing. Hold that shot right there. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was doing high end zone, and that beauty shot was up to my right at the very top of the end of stadium. But because I was doing high end zone, it was about 40, 50 rows up. Okay. So this was the problem. I had to do the game. Soon as the halftime hit, I had to go and readjust the beauty, which wasn't Don Minchner. I think Don Minchner.
Oh, Don Minchner. Yeah. Correct. I did a halftime show with him too.
Right.
We did the Petty.
Tom Petty. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he directed that show. So I had to go up. I had to leave camera 4 and get the beauty and tilt it up into the sky with just a little bit of the stadium, unlike the game wanted, because he had the lightning come in. So I tried explaining to him, I said, like, I got to leave and fight through a crowd coming down these steps, 40, 50 rows. You know what I mean? That's my shot right there too. I had to go up there, frame that shot for the sky so he could have his lightning in, zip all the way back down to my camera to get the first shot of his halftime show, which is at high end zone shots. And then when that was over, I had to go run all the way back up there and tilt it back down for Mike Arnold for the game. So it was like kind of like, it was nutty. Yeah, like I kept saying to him, like, I don't think you realize what you're asking me to do, because they don't realize, Hardy, like when halftime comes, some of the people didn't want to see the halftime. They want to go to the bathroom and stuff. And I'm fighting upstairs as people are coming all the way down to get to the bathroom to get that beauty to tilt up to the sky so you can have his lightning in.
Yeah, this was a crazy, crazy halftime show. Definitely iconic. Definitely one that you'll never forget. So you had a man, that's crazy. You had to run from camera to camera, and then so you never got a bathroom break, and then you had to work the whole. Oh man, that was who I what that game. Who was played that game? I wouldn't even pay. Who was it?
Colts and the Bears.
Oh, Colts. Yeah. Oh yeah, Colts won that one. That Peyton Manning. Yeah.
Peyton Manning, and it was actually the very first Super Bowl that each coach was African American, because it was Tony Dungy against Chicago had a African American coach. I can't remember his name right now off the hand, but it was the first Super Bowl ever that both head coaches were African American.
That's a lot of historic. So you've done your share of historic games for sure, man. I can't thank you enough for doing this, man. Crew Call Live. This has been so much fun to hear your story, from Mr. Rogers to Super Bowls to Prince's halftime show. Eric, man, thank you so much for sharing your EVS journey, telling me about what it's like to do your job, to do it for the Super Bowls, from Yankee games and everything else, man. I appreciate you guys in doing this, man. Thank you guys for participating. I hope to have you guys join the call again later on, sometime down the line, when I can get this shit done right. I'm working on it, but
well,
you know what? I think these conversations are important to have. I think they're really, really encouraging to people who want to do what we do. And, I'd love for in 30, 40 years for people to be like telling their stories because they heard ours.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, thank you, Hardy. I'm glad I could help. And it's I'm in a point in my career. I'll be 62 next month. And I'm to the point that, like, anything I can do to help the younger people coming along, cause I was helped. Like I said, I had a day one, and I was more than thrilled to come on and help and share whatever I could. And, I hope any young people take even one little bit that I said tonight. I know I said a lot, but if they can grab one little bit out of it and it helps them, that's all worth it.
Well, we only have one other person left on the line. Grace. I know Grace came to my sports broadcast workshop. If she shares her video, she can ask her question. She's been listening, I guess, if she's still there. You there, Grace? Let me see if she'll unmute. Or maybe she's stepped away. All right, maybe she doesn't want to ask a question. But she was a young girl. I teach at Pace University, and she's actually a student at Pace, and she came onto the call tonight to listen to our stories, which was great.
Other people can watch her, or is this just like a live thing?
Well, usually you know what? Had I done this right and I sent the link out properly without the wrong password, I think we would have had more people on the line today. But I think I screwed up this one. But I'm going to put these out, as by themselves, because they're great, man. This conversation was awesome. This discussion, your journey, everybody's story in this business is so interesting and fascinating and different. Everybody has a different path to their craft, and it's just interesting to see how you get there. Like there's so many things that you wouldn't there was definitely moments you didn't know where you'd end up, and then look where you did. It's incredible story, man.
Yeah. Well, for you, Hardy, I'd do anything. I mean, I really appreciate you as a person.
Oh man, I appreciate that, brother. All right, so let's go watch some football. There's another game on tonight, so we can might as well watch that, man. I'll be doing another one next week. So listen, if you wanted to pop in and listen next week, you're welcome to do that, man. Anybody can join. Call live Thursday, 7 p.m. I'm gonna sit here, talk with people, get their ideas and stories, and just share that. So,
well, thank you. See you, buddy.
Thanks, pal.
See you.
All right,
Bye-bye.
man.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate you all.